A couple of words on associations, or on how I see associations, which is a term that obviously one who is interested in text's perception or research in the text's perception comes across with often, but there is in fact no unified definition of it, or the term itself is maybe too broad to be even defined, or self-explanatory, or not scientific enough, or how to call it. In any case, it's maybe the broadness of its meaning, and the ability to contain in itself more levels, more stratified notions or terms is what interests me on the one hand, because it again seems to be well applicable to the broader framework I tend to work with, or I tend to look at the communication process through on many occasions. So broadest sense association, its connotations that may fit in. It's in a way, for example, denotations, exemplifications, as famously formulated by Nelson Goodman, as his main two pillars or points of reference, definition terms of representation, which is already actually somehow we're going to the signs or symbols themselves in more concrete terms that are basically as stepping stones of formulating some background or point of departure from which associations may even emerge. Obviously, a classic or classical studies on science is the one formulated already 150 years ago, almost more than a century, definitely, by Charles Sanders Peirce, as indexes, symbols, indices, as a system of science. But no matter how precise or imprecise the distinction or these points of departure are, we I believe are safe to say that associations are, or in fact all cognitive reactions that are produced in the mind when the mind is triggered by the stimuli that it's perceiving, by the perceived stimuli from the outside. Obviously, in our case, we in most situations identify them with text. From the pragmatical point of view of what happens in the pragmatic perception or way of understanding perception. I try to explain it elsewhere, but maybe there is an interesting point which could help again elucidate a little bit the whole topic, cast more light on it, or be at least interesting, or just like another perspective on how to look at it, how to tackle it. Metaphors, figurative meanings, or even incorrect references or likenings. These are the four or two, let's say, metaphors, figurative meanings can be summed up as or categorized as one, and incorrect references, or these neglectful, let's say, or likenings of somebody to something that are not exact. I'll give an example later on. Could be another category, but namely these two, besides others, of course, but specifically these two, in a nice way show how associations or reactions work in the mind that basically get us there where the author wants us to be, provided we're cooperative. I mean, sometimes even when we're not cooperative, we get a stimulus from the outside, and there's hardly anything we can do, provided we have some experience. Once we have this experience, so we would have to, close our ears or avoid the conversation, or just run away in order to avoid these reactions that to a great extent are ignited in our mind spontaneously or automatically, or in direct response to our being exposed to these stimuli from the outside in the form of the text. So, for example, some of the metaphors. What are metaphors? Metaphors are basically textual, in text rendered, symbolic variables, be it poetic, be it funny, be it referring to something, be it this or that way, wrapped into some stylistic cover, but they're always only variables of a principle or essence. So it's not to be called an essentialist, but yes, it's the way it is. I mean, an essence or a principle that has been there. I don't say, or I don't dare say it's been there forever, but it's been there for quite a long. As such, it has been identified by usually a community, a cultural unit that agreed on this identification, and that obviously, where there is no identification, if there is no relevance or importance or frequency. I mean, this is how language originates. Phenomena, events, things, objects, things that we encounter in our life have to be either frequent or relevant, or both, for us in order to be named. There may be exceptions, but I mean, this is the general rule. So beside words, besides simple denominations, denotations, there are also phenomena, there are also situations that are somehow not really stereotypical, but they are symptomatic for this or that thing. These situations are usually used as in the minds of the cultural, let's say, community or unit. They are reduced to their principle, to their essence, and as such they are likened likened to other situations where the principle or the essence is the same, and which happen, for example, in usual life, in nature, in the world of animals, in daily situations. So as figurative meanings, this is in fact the way metaphor works, metaphors work. So to define or to too much dig into where the difference is, that there is a difference, but into how much important the difference is between what figurative meaning is and what metaphor is, would make a sense technically, but for our sake it basically doesn't make any sense, because I mean what counts is the identification of the principle, and then its rendering or its likening or its underscoring or stressing, emphasizing by referring to the same principle by means of using another example other than the basic ones where the principle is clearly visible. For example, we say, I mean, you again building your castles in the air, figurative meaning rather than a metaphor. I mean, there we can easily imagine the something unrealistic happening, castles flying in the air, challenging, defying, denying the gravity, a clear nonsense, with again even the pompous element, pompous dimension of those being namely castles, not houses or something small, which the gravity wouldn't allow to fly anyway. Wild, like a raving or hopping around like a bucking bronco, the bull. There, what the principle is, in my opinion, it's the characteristic move and the mass of the animal and the alert it's giving to the others, the unpredictability of its moves, of its movements, and the general a little bit distressing nature of being around it. So something is emanating an ominous or distressing, I mean disturbing, giving having a disturbing aura, being dynamic, being powerful, and the image, the vision or the scenery of namely this huge bull has been just released out from behind the barrier, is exactly what matches the feeling that the author, the community had before, and that the author wants to convey onto the recipients of his text, in which he uses this metaphor in this case, metaphor, figurative term. Every cloud has a silver lining. That's something that can clearly be seen in its original form, and is only translated into its figurative dimension when something bad happens and somebody wants to consolate the somebody else or console somebody else and tells him this, hoping that the memory, the understanding, or the image of that beautiful line, the optimistic line, that there is really caused by the sun being hidden behind the cloud, may trigger something in the in the listener's mind that will stimulate or provide him with correspondingly positive feelings of hope or something as desired, or cheering up or cheerful. Again, the big message is clear. We have basic situations that were used, that were cognitively transplanted, thanks to some collective experience, so as to be used as figures, metaphors, transplanted meanings to express, and by means of this, in fact, defamiliarization strengthen the final message, because had the message been clear, I mean, had if the speaker, if the author tells everything without using these specific figures of speech, then his speech would be, yes, would be complying with communication maxims, but would be a little bit boring, and just like the spice of language would be missing. And the spice of language consists in how much time the recipient of the text is willing and has to spend with the text, how much he has to think about it, come back to it, be the difference only 1 or 2 seconds in small texts. It always makes the difference. So metaphors, beside other things, are a way how to a little bit lengthen the time the recipient, the perceiver, spends with the text, and all this being one of the elements that reinforce the recipient's experience or experience when receiving and processing the text. So the more basic the text, the shallower the experience, the more refined, whereas figures of speech and metaphors are relatively very advancedly refined elements of speech. As among others, George Lakoff, the metaphor classic, says, what he says is basically that the advancement and progress of language can be measured by the refinedness of the metaphors the language is constantly coming up with. The more refined, the more metaphor or figure of speech filled the language, the text is, the stronger, usually, of course, if done reasonably, the stronger the recipient's experience when perceiving and processing it.